There are a ton of PlayStation controller options. Today we're gonna look at all of the options and I'm gonna tell you which one is my personal pick right now. Hello and welcome back to Gears and Tech. You guys probably already saw a recent video where I reviewed PlayStation 5 controllers already and said this is my favorite controller. But quite a few things have changed since then. Most notably, the eXtremeRate guys have come out with their back paddle with built-in trigger stops that add clicky triggers. So a lot of you have been wondering, how does this controller stack up against all of these other options? We got you covered today. So the first thing I gotta do is just tell you what all I have here, and I've broke it down into 3 separate categories. And those categories are the ready-to-go PlayStation 5 controllers. You buy them, you use them. That's it. Nothing fancy, you just shell out the cash. I have the middle group here, which is the DIY custom controller modification group. This can be a budget-friendly group, and there's a lot of benefits in this category that give you all of the features of the more expensive pre-modded category. So that could be the way you want to go. But the category that most of you either don't know exists or are unfamiliar with how exactly it works is the aftermarket, not made for PS5 brand, but still works for PS5. Now I know you're wondering, well, Anton, how on earth are you going to use all of these controllers when they don't work? Well, we got you covered. We will go over how those work and how they could be a suitable alternative when you're considering which controller is best for you. I will try to break it down to the best controller, at least in each range, so you have the best information to make the best choice possible. We're going to start off with the off-branded controllers. Now, if we look over here, you're going to see a couple familiar faces. Most notably is this. This is a DualSense controller. You're like, well, the DualSense controller works, but this one actually has StrikePack Horizon Vista mod on it. Now, many of you say, well, that's been patched a long time ago, and it has. And if you go to the StrikePack website, you can't even get it. Or can you? You see, if you go to the PC section on the Collective Minds website, you actually can still get this because this works fully on PC. A DualSense controller with the StrikePack mod on PC works. Turns out it also works on your PlayStation 5 as long as you have one of these. Now this is a P5 mate. We have reviewed this on this channel. We've explored it on this channel. We've even shown you how to use it on this channel and done a complete in-depth troubleshooting guide for you if you're having problems using the P5 mate. Now the P5 mate still works to this day. It has not been patched. Many of you have wondered, is it going to work? Yes, it's still working. And yes, I think it will continue to work because of how it achieves what it achieves. So you can use the P5 mate to unlock all of the controllers you see here. Xbox Elite Series 2 controller. Yes, you can have your back paddles. Yes, you can have your adaptive triggers. Yes, you can have your adjustable height thumbsticks. You can have everything you love about the Xbox controller and use it on your PlayStation 5 as long as you have a gateway to unlock it. The P5 mate is that gateway. You'll also notice I have the classic DualShock 4 controller. This is still a fantastic controller and it is a first choice for many of you. This is in fact my most favorite controller up until the DualSense controller came out, and I didn't even like the DualSense. I fought it because I did not want to use the DualSense controller because I loved this one so much. If you still love your DualShock 4 controller, yes, you can use it on all PlayStation 5 games using a gateway like the P5 mate. Gams go. Are you paying too much for Netflix, Spotify, Disney Plus, Crunchyroll, Duolingo, Canva, or Adobe? GamsGo has you covered with premium shared subscriptions for a fraction of the price directly from the distributor. Yes, GamsGo is the shared premium experience that you've been looking for that saves a ton of money. I personally use GamsGo for my Netflix, my Spotify, my Disney Plus, and my Crunchyroll subscriptions, and I have saved tons of money by switching to GamsGo. This is truly an amazing deal. You don't want to miss it. Click the link down below to grab your deal. Now there's an odd shaped controller here. This is the QRD N5 Spark. This is shaped very similarly to the Xbox controller. In fact, it's almost a one-to-one copy of the Xbox controller with one main key difference, and that is the symmetrical dual analog sticks. This could be your perfect controller. It has the same Xbox triggers. There are no trigger stops, but there are programmable back buttons that also allow you to program in macro button sequences. You can program in any combination of button pushes and map them to one of these two buttons. And this is great for those of you playing fighting games or sports games where you have to do a certain button combination in a certain sequence to unlock special maneuvers. You simply do it once, program it to that back button, and every time you push that button, you will unlock that special move. There's a ton of other features on here. We cover this controller in depth in a totally different video. So if you think this might be yours, this is a budget-friendly controller that is fabulous. Now, the one trick with this, it actually is a full DualShock 4 controller. When you use it on PC, it shows up as a DualShock 4 controller. When you connect this to your PlayStation 5, it shows up as a DualShock controller, not a DualSense, a DualShock. This is an available upgrade to the hard to get PlayStation 4 controllers. It features Hall effect sticks, so they will never ever wear out. This is a very budget controller that works great. But you can also get it with this. This is called the QRD Black Pill. And what this does is it plugs into your PlayStation 5 and pairs with the QRD controller to play all of your PlayStation 5 games without needing a P5 Mate. It will work with a P5 Mate as well. The P5 Mate only supports wired connectivity. So this is wireless. Now, I explore this completely in a different video. So if you have more questions about that, all of these options that I'm showing you here, I've covered in depth. So I don't need to go through how they work, how to use them, anything like that. It's all on this channel. So most of you who have watched all these videos, you know they exist, and this is not something new to you. Now, running through the pricing of all of these options, all of them require a gateway of some sort. The P5 Mate is that gateway. It's going to cost you about $59 and then the cost of the controller. So the Xbox Elite controller, about $120. If you want the complete kit, closer to $200. The PlayStation 4 controller, if you can find it still, they're about $50, $60. You can get the QRD controller for $49 US. The cheapest budget option in this segment right now. The DualSense controller with the Strike Pack Horizon Vista is going to cost you about $70 for the Vista plus the DualSense controller. Now, if you have a PlayStation 5, you probably already have the DualSense controller, and this is simply going to add 4 back paddles, actually programmable trigger stops, which is really cool how they did it. They work really great. And it unlocks cheats and macros and all of that stuff. So this is the one that you're looking for in the budget segment because it actually unlocks all that other crap that is important to you. If you're just looking for back paddles and basic adjustability without cheating, these other guys are your option. In the not supported but works category, my personal choice right now is actually that QRD controller. At 50 bucks, you can't beat it. It is the best value. If you're an Xbox guy and you're used to Xbox, then the Elite Series controller is a very viable second option, but it's gonna cost you a lot of money. By the time you get the P5 Mate and you get your Xbox controller, you're over $200, which gets very expensive, and it means that some of these other options might be better for you. Moving into the DIY category. This is an exciting category because I've been doing the DIY category since the beginning. I've been adding the back paddles when I was 3D printing back paddles for my controller because nobody else was making a back paddle option. We've come a long way since then, and Besavior has been my go-to back paddle option. You get this special backpack with the rear shell. It's a reasonably simple install, but it does require soldering. It gives you back paddles that are also macro programmable. So you can program in certain key presses to those back paddles as well. It has a little OLED screen here, which allows you to see all of the settings that you're changing. The downside to this is it just adds the back paddles. So you're not gonna get clicky triggers. You're not gonna get adjustable height thumbsticks. If you want those, you have to add those as an extra. Now, personally, when I'm building a controller, I always add adjustable height thumbsticks, and I have always added clicky triggers. but that meant that I had to take out the adaptive triggers, and I don't like doing that because I prefer to have an all-in-one controller. So for that reason, this one is not really my favorite anymore. It is available as the back paddle kit for $69.99. I will put a link in the description if you want to get that and you want to take that on yourself. I show you the install in different videos, so if you're curious what the install looks like, you can check out those videos, see the entire process. But the eXtremeRate guys have the new exciting mod, and that is the back paddles. You can get the 4 or the 2. This is the Rise kit that everyone has known and everyone has seen and loved for the last 4 or 5 years now. And it's still the same. But they've incorporated into the back shell these adaptive clicky trigger sliders. Now these are more than just trigger stops like what the Xbox controller is doing and like the DualSense Edge. Those are all just trigger stops. Let me explain. These are currently regular DualSense adaptive triggers. They have full trigger pull, they can stop, they can have all of the trigger features that the game turns on. They're all still there, they're fully incorporated and fully working. By sliding this little mechanism over here, it's not just a trigger stop, it's actually a mechanical mechanism. And what has happened now, there's a short throw clicky trigger activator. So listen to this. You hear that? That is not a trigger stop. That is an actual micro switch that was slid in behind the adaptive trigger to now make it a clicky trigger, a short throw clicky trigger. This gives you the best of both worlds. If you're playing a story-based experiential game, adaptive triggers all day. You're playing a competitive shooter, slide that over, clicky triggers. Instantly. No longer do you have to pick one or the other. They're both there on the same controller. This comes as a kit. You can get the kit for $49.99. That is unheard of cheap. And if all you want is back paddles and clicky triggers, $50 and your old DualSense controller and you're set. Or you can buy a new controller for about $75 and this kit, $120. You have the best controller that PlayStation has to offer with all of the great benefits that the DualSense Edge offers at $199. So this is now cheaper. Now, some of you may have noticed that the color scheme is different. That's because I did a full controller shell swap. I swapped the front shell, I swapped the triggers, I even added the adjustable height thumbsticks that I told you I put into every kit. Whenever I'm opening a controller, I always put the adjustable height thumbsticks. Now, I do walk you through the actual install that I did on this controller when I built it in a different video. So any questions that you have, certainly they're probably in that video. Now there are other DIY options, and a quick look through Amazon will show you all kinds of different back paddles, all different kinds of shells, and all different kinds of stuff. Many of them come from eXtremeRate. So they've got the market pretty much locked down for all of the swappable components. But there are other brands, and they're certainly in the same price range. My experience is with the eXtremeRate because that's the one that's I know and I trust. So when you're talking about a DIY kit, in my opinion, it's Besavior or eXtremeRate. If I had to pick one, right now, the eXtremeRate has my full attention. With those mechanical slide-in clicky triggers, it's a game changer. Now I have talked to the Besavior team a long time ago and I said, guys, if you could make slide-in trigger stops, you would have the market on lock. And they told me, yeah, we'll look into that. Well, I don't know if eXtremeRate has been hacking my emails or if they were just getting the feedback from my phone listening to me, but they were the first to market, from what I can see, with the most interesting new controller mod for the PlayStation 5. Super excited. So if I had to pick DIY category, I'm going for that eXtremeRate back paddle kit. Now let's talk about the actual PlayStation 5 controller options. And to do that, I actually need to take the DIY Besavior kit and drop it over here. And you're gonna understand why shortly. Now, I do not have every controller option here. So AIM has custom controllers that you can buy. Scuf have custom controllers you can buy. Get a Grip Gaming have custom controllers that you can buy. There are tons more options available. These are the ones that I want to talk about. I am experienced in pretty much all of them. I've tried them all. So I have an opinion, obviously, but the ones that I really don't like, I got rid of pretty fast. So let's get rid of one right off the bat. And this is it right here. This is the Razer Wolverine V2 Pro. I said it in a different video. My opinion has not changed. I do not like this controller. The shape is wrong. The adjustable height thumbsticks, there are no replacement options available. So if you're like me and you've lost your adjustable height thumbsticks, you can't swap them out. You have to buy another controller to be able to replace those. The back buttons are in the wrong position. You can't reach them right. The controller shape is wrong. The only saving grace for this is that it has micro clicky buttons for everything. Face buttons, arm-on clicky buttons. D-pad, arm-on clicky buttons. It's got these extra buttons up here which actually serve a pretty good purpose. They're a programmable macro button, which is nice. They're easy to get to, but overall, this controller sucks. I didn't even look up what the price was because I remember it being so stupid that I just would never recommend it to anybody. So I'm gonna leave it right there so we can remember that I'm not gonna recommend it. But this takes us to the Besavior controller. Now you heard that the Besavior controller was an add-on kit. You can also buy a pre-assembled Besavior controller and it comes just like this. It looks like a regular PlayStation 5 controller with that same back paddles that we talked about already. This saves you the hassle of having to try to do the install yourself. If you were gonna buy a Besavior kit, I would recommend strongly buying the pre-packaged, pre-built kit. It's gonna cost you about $159, which isn't a lot of money. It's not a little bit of money, and it's actually quite inexpensive when you consider the kit itself is gonna cost you 60 bucks. The controller itself is gonna cost you 75 bucks. So really you're only paying about 25 or $30 for the install. I don't know about you, but I would charge much more money to do an install of this kit, and it is well worth it to have somebody else do it for you if possible. It also has an extra trick up its sleeve, which nobody else has, and that's this extra USB port here. And what this does is actually makes it work just like the P5 Mate. This will allow you to use all of these controllers here using this backpack as the gateway. So you remember I said all of these work as long as you have a gateway, and we talked about the P5 Mate being that gateway. Well, it turns out the Besavior backpack can also work as that gateway, and it will always work. I guarantee you, if you're asking, will it get patched? Never. It will never ever get patched on here, and that's because it piggybacks the actual PlayStation 5 controller, and the system thinks that the PlayStation 5 controller is what is providing the inputs. It creates a man in the middle, and it is the best solution for unlocking any aftermarket peripherals if you were worried about it getting blocked. So tons of great benefits for that, but we haven't talked about these two. Now these are the Hex Phantom controller. You guys have probably heard a ton about these because they're really exciting and they're really new. So let's walk through a couple of the features really quick. First off, they come with adjustable height thumbsticks right off the bat. They come with a bunch of different shell options for colors. They come with 4 programmable back buttons that have their clicky effect. But you remember the eXtremeRate when we talked about the adaptive triggers? Well, yeah, these have the full adaptive trigger still intact, just like you saw with the eXtremeRate. And just like the eXtremeRate, there is this mechanical slide over that puts in a micro short throw trigger, exactly the same as the eXtremeRate. Now, it should come at no surprise that Hex Gaming is the same company as eXtremeRate. So it's the same technology. So when we talk about a mechanical slider going in and out, it's the same mechanical slider. The difference here is this is a pre-packaged controller that you buy with the features that you want. Now, really the only selectable features are, do you want Hall effect sticks that never ever wear out? Or do you want regular analog sticks that come with the Drift Fix front adjustable module so that you can adjust it when they get drift, because they will, and there's a different price for those. So this starts at $229, and that is an amazing deal. Now many of you are saying, but Anton, the DualSense Edge starts at $199 with replaceable modules. Yes, it does, but it only has 2 back buttons. This has 4, and remember these triggers that we were talking about? The DualSense Edge uses trigger stops. That is more comparable to the Xbox controller with its 3 progressive trigger stops to make it just stop. It's not a clicky trigger, it just stops it from getting pulled any further, and then you have to play in the settings to adjust the activation window so that it sees a short throw as a full trigger pull. Whereas this guy sees this little movement right here as a complete trigger pull. If you are into competitive gaming, this is the controller that you're looking for. So now when we look at all of the three categories, and I think it's fair to consider three separate categories. If I'm going in the pre-packaged controller category, the Hex Phantom, hands down, the best controller that money can buy right now. Now, not seen here is the Get a Grip gaming controller. The most exciting thing about their offering is that they have the 3D controller builder. Now, if you're doing your own custom controller, it starts life as a regular PlayStation 5 controller, and then you add on from there. You can add Hall effect, you can add clicky triggers, you can add back buttons, you can add your custom shell. So a lot of what I did here with the eXtremeRate, they will do for you. Now, their offering starts at $180, but as soon as you start adding back paddles, clicky triggers, custom faces, you're easily going to get into the $300 range. So a little bit of sticker shock, but you're talking about a highly customized controller. And then you don't need any special modules or anything to make it work. It is a DualSense controller, so it works exactly as expected. It updates just like a regular DualSense controller. So when we're looking at the PlayStation 5 pre-packaged, ready-to-go controller, either modded by somebody else or modded directly somewhere, somehow, but you buy it, it comes and you just use it, the Hex Phantom is my favorite. It is my daily driver right now. I'm really enjoying the Hex Phantom. When you're talking about the custom controller DIY section, hands down, eXtremeRate with the new max triggers on the back, nobody can touch that. We're gonna see some copycats for that because it is an amazing offering that gives you the most cost-effective way to get a very competitive controller as long as you're willing to do the work yourself. And then do not count out the third-party aftermarket not designed for PlayStation controller options, because with the P5 Mate, it unlocks a world of possibilities. You can use a Nintendo Switch controller if that's your thing, Xbox controller, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, the QRD controller. So many endless possibilities that are all unlocked using a P5 Mate. If I was going that route, the QRD controller is pretty good for the price. It's the cheapest option that gets you most of those features you're looking for. If you need that extra customizability, the Xbox controller is the way to go, but I think you're edging into the DIY range or a properly equipped, regular, ready-to-go PlayStation 5 controller, so I would probably shy away from that. Now, I know we covered a lot in this video, and so many people complain that I talk a lot without saying a whole lot. I would say that this video has the most substance of any video that I have ever done in as fast a form as possible. But if I miss something, post something in the comments. I will try to answer your questions about it. I'll cover everything. I definitely have my favorites. I'm really enjoying where we're at in the controller space right now. Very, very exciting. Hey, thanks for watching all the way to the end of this video. We hope you enjoy the content in this video, and we'd love to have you come back. Consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. And for those subscribers who are looking for that extra special thing that you can do to support this channel, consider joining our members group. That's where we're building this community, the Gears and Tech community, where we can all enjoy content together. You'll get special perks, which we'd love for you to check out by clicking the link down below. For those of you who are just happy to watch the video, that's okay too. You can check out some of our other content right over here, where we've got some previous videos that have already been uploaded and enjoyed by many of our viewers already. We do hope to see you again. This has been Gears and Tech. Have a great day.